Okay. Well, good morning and welcome everyone to the Monterey Salinas Transit District Board of Directors meeting of May 11th, 2026. The time is 10:02. And at this time, Jeanette, will you please call roll?
Sure. City of Carmel by the Sea.
Here.
City of Del Rio Oaks.
Here.
City of Gonzales.
Here.
City of Greenfield.
Here.
City of King. City of Marina.
Here.
City of Monterey.
Here.
City of Pacific Grove.
Here.
City of San City.
Here.
City of Salinas.
Here.
City of Seaside.
Here.
City of Soledad.
Here.
County of Monterey.
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. We'll monitor the screen.
We are going to continue to
Okay.
monitor the screen.
At this time, you do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. With that, I would like to we'll go into the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would like to ask Director Barrera if he would give us the honor. Thank you, sir.
I'm American. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 3, review highlights of the agenda. Carl Sador.
Thank you, Chair. On today's agenda, among the usual items on consent, we do have the resolution under Senate Bill 707 of your board authorizing our Mobility Advisory Committee to pursue remote participation in their meetings. This is a volunteer group that's advisory to your board for our seniors, veterans, and persons with disabilities programs. And getting these volunteers to have to show up in person can be limiting factor, so offering that will be useful. Then we have on the consent agenda, a recent request from the Monterey County election staff for us to offer free transit on June 2nd to allow access to primary election ballot locations. On public hearings, you'll receive an update on our vacant positions per recent legislation. We're required to provide that presentation on an annual basis. And then you'll get an update on the planning and design of the MST operations and maintenance facility at 139 Sun Street in Salinas. That concludes my review of the agenda. There will be directly following the meeting, a meeting of the ad hoc nominating committee for board officers.
Okay, thank you for your report. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to public comments on matters not on the agenda. So at this time, members of the public may address the board on any matter related to MST jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. Items on the agenda, I will open it up at that time for public comment. So with that, the public comment is open on matters not on the agenda. And if you could please come up and state your name. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Miss Yvonne Lattimore. On April 13th, I came to attend the board meeting, but there was no notice posted on the MST buses that there was no meeting scheduled for April the 13th. I called on Friday, April the 10th, to verify that the board meeting was still scheduled for April the 13th. I received the supervisor that I spoke to was Supervisor Kip, who confirmed that the board meeting was still scheduled for April the 13th at 10 a.m. here in this office today. So he therefore, I'm on paratransit. I ride the ADA paratransit bus, so I pay for those tickets for my rides because I'm disabled. So he scheduled my appointment for me to be picked up at 9 a.m. in Salinas on 4/13/2026 at 9 a.m. But when we got here, I wasn't the only one that was present for the board meeting. California Taxi was also here present, but no one was here at 10:05. So I called the office of the MST bus and I spoke to a representative who informed me that the meeting was changed from 4:13 to 4:06:26. But we was not informed. See, there's posted in the buses that it says when the meetings are scheduled for the board meetings. And there was no posting in that on none of the buses, the paratransit bus or the regular public transportation bus that I traveled from Euro to get here. There was nothing changed to let me know, so I paid the $2 to come to the meeting. So when I called the MST representative, she told me to come upstairs and to ask for a refund and to file a complaint. So when I came upstairs, I spoke with Miss Diana Lopez, and she informed me that she had to call Veronica Cariello to ask if I can get a refund for the $2 that I paid and for me to return home in the taxi. So she informed me, Ms. Veronica Cariello, Careiedo, informed me that I could not get a refund for coming here to the board meeting because the board meeting didn't take place. And I tried to explain to her, well, it was not my fault that the board meeting was changed because I was not aware that the board meeting was changed. So she said a refund would not be given. So I asked to speak to the general manager for the board to give me a phone call so I can address and convey to him my concerns, being disabled and not having the transportation that I need or the finances that I need just to come out here. And I scheduled on the buses, it says you must call a day before so you would know if the board meeting was taking place. Well, I know you're closed on Saturdays and Sundays, so that's why I called on Friday. And it was confirmed by Kip that the board meeting was taking place. So when I asked for the general manager to give me a phone call, if she can send a message to him, then she said she would go ahead, not give me the $2 back, but give me a taxi voucher to cover the cost for me to get back to Salinas. But I told her that the taxi voucher would not cover the cost for me to get back to Salinas. According to this taxi voucher, it states that anything over the $17 rate and the $3 that I paid to pay for this voucher, that I have to cover the cost. That total cost was $50.25 meter from Monterey to Salinas. So the $17 and the $3 that I paid, so that means the $17 voucher, $33.25 would have me to be out of pocket. But thanks to the goodness of the owner, Mr. Francisco from California Taxi, since they showed up, he went ahead and gave me a ride home so I could get back home. But I did receive a phone call from Miss Veronica. She informed me on May the 6th that the $2 would be refunded. But if it had not been for California Taxi, I would still be out of the $33.25. And to me, I didn't think that was fair for me to have to pay for something when the board meeting was changed unaware to me or any of the other public residents in the community for us to attend. So the $2 will be refunded. My other concern that I have that I've been having an issue with Yellow Cab. I went to a medical appointment, and when they say they don't speak English, but I can hear in their GPS. Yes, ma'am.
Miss Lattimore.
Yes.
We have a 3-minute limit.
So can I just make the request then? My request that I would like that if MST can add California Taxi as a vendor for the ADA paratransit rides program, considering the experiences and the numerous complaints I've had with Yellow Cab since 2017 up until the present date. So it's just been really bad customer service and not willing to help those that are disabled, especially when I have a walker. So that's my main request here today.
So we have Kevin Elshouse in the back and Ole from Transdev. The basis of your complaints really relate to areas that they are responsible for. They'd be happy to meet with you.
Yes, I've spoken to him. Kevin Elshouse is excellent, wonderful. I've had a blessing with him. So. He's been great.
Okay.
Yes. But that was my main concern and just trying to get a ride with the reservation line. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your
Appreciate it.
And public comment is still open. I do see a hand raised on the screen. Number ending with
1705.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Lorna Moffett here. When we do good things, we create good things. And when we create bad things, we create bad things. That's the meaning of karma. We've all had inexplicable events happen to us, which some call God intervention or angels or great spirit or the unknowable. Whatever they are, science can't explain it and put it in a box. My point is, when we do good things for Mother Earth, it comes back to us, like saving trees or giving up some habit that is harmful to the earth and ourselves. So I'm asking you to please help Mother Earth right now by making MST more user-friendly. I've taken MST for 26 years, so I've seen how the service lines have fallen through the cracks, so less people feel inclined to take it. And it is on your watch. You're getting paid to sit on this board and improve things, and I don't see it. I have asked time and time again that you bring the Grapevine Line 24 back to the plaza so tourists can take it conveniently to the Carmel Valley Village. The bus used to be full of tourists enjoying wine tasting, but they don't want to have to sit at a bus stop in noisy traffic waiting for a bus, and that's exactly what you are doing now. Also, the line is getting so unused, I have a feeling someone wants to end it because it's not enough passengers to justify the means. If I were director, I'd advise with the local hotels about Line 24 being a direct line to Fun and Wine. I'd have a van instead of a bus to save on gas until business picked up. The problem with 24 now is once in a while the 24 is late at the Rancho and the 5 bus leaves and you're left for 45 minutes. And if it's dark and cold and rainy and windy, you are literally, in a jam. It's terrifying. In the old days, you could call someone at the bus office. Now you can't. Uber and taxis are expensive, and MST makes you jump through hoops trying to get your money back. This service is run on inconvenience, and you should fix it, but you don't. So less people take the bus and drive instead. And that's a good example of how this board is doing bad things for our planet when you should be doing good. Please improve these lines. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Ms. Moffett. And public comment is still open. And not seeing any hands, I will go ahead and close public comment, and I thank everyone for their comments. At this time, I would like to acknowledge that I believe Luis Alejo has joined us online.
Yes, I've been online.
Okay, welcome. And do we need to?
Director Alejo, are you attending as a member of the public, or are you trying to use a just cause exemption to attend remotely?
Just cause.
Can you please just confirm that nobody over the age of 18 is in the room with you?
They're not. I'm alone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to the item 3, the consent agenda. And at this time, we do have items 3.1 through 3.8. Our CEO has gone over those with you, and they are in your board packet. So at this time, directors, are there any items that you'd like to discuss or consider separately?
Just a quick question on 3.8, if I may, Chair.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you, Chair. Is it expected this will repeat for the November election?
Yes, so we actually we will have in our budget the November election. What we didn't do in this current year's budget, we did not include the primary election. And so free fair days, we go through the board to offer that as part of our fair policy. So this request came in from the county election staff. And we did a quick calculation, somewhere around $8,000 to MST. We think it's a fair cost to bear to ensure access to the ballot box for the primaries. And in the budget starting July 1, staff will include the general election as a free fair day, and we'll attempt to do a better job of keeping that in future years' budgets and not let that slip.
So no need for a consent item in October for November.
No, it'll be included in next month when the full budget comes to your board. It will list the free fair days. There are a number of them that we do: Earth Day, Election Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, Senior Transit Day. I think I got them all, but anyway, you'll get a report. It will be part of the full budget report next month.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your question. And any other directors? And if not, I will go ahead and move to open public comment. So I'll ask the public, any comments? Not seeing any, we'll close public comment and I'll bring it back to the board. Is there a motion for approval? Move to approve?
I'll approve it first, sure.
We,
First on that.
whatever. So we have as long as our clerk gets it.
Yeah. I'm in.
And who's the second?
Lorraine.
Okay.
And we have to do a roll call.
And yes, with that, roll call vote, please.
Okay, City of Carmel by the Sea.
Yes.
City of Delray Oaks.
Yes.
City of Gonzales.
Yes.
City of Greenfield.
Yes.
City was absent. City of Marina.
Yes.
City of Monterey.
Yes.
City of Pacific Grove.
Yes.
City of Sound City.
Yes.
City of Salinas.
Yes.
City of Seaside.
Yes.
City of Soledad.
Yes.
And then County of Monterey.
Aye.
Yeah. And then motion passes with one absent.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we will, at this time, we'll go ahead and move on to item 4, and this is, we are going to be doing a recognition and presentation for the May 2026 Employee of the Month, who is Greg Burchell, Operations Supervisor, and Norm will give us a little.
Yes, thank you. I'm Norm Tavuki. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. It's a pleasure to be here before you again. And man, I saw Greg this morning. I said, this guy, he just keeps coming back. Right? He just keeps coming back, but it's a pleasure and an absolute joy to be able to work with people who care as much as Greg does, who goes out of his way to set an example for all the employees that we work with. And then if you talk to any of our customers, they've known him. They've known him for a long time. He's been in the community forever. And then when he came to work for MST, he started as coach operator. They knew him as a coach operator. Now he's out there in supervision, making sure that he's providing excellent care, ensuring safety, and then answering any questions that he can for our members of our public who ride our system. But I wanted to stop here and bring Kelly Halcon out to talk about this important recognition. Yeah, I'm actually gonna hand it over to her. So yeah. Thanks.
I have the pleasure, Kelly Halkin, Chief Human Resources Officer, and good morning, everyone. I have the pleasure of second introducing Greg this morning because the nomination actually came out of my department for Greg to be Employee of the Month this month. And that's because, well, as you can tell by Norm's introduction, he's a valued member of the Transportation Department since May of 2014. And Greg has, he's professional. His attention to detail is one of the best out there. And it was his attention to detail that actually helped to save one of our members of our team who was in medical distress. Greg had a question that he needed from our safety training department, and he went downstairs into the office. And when he came, he discovered one of my team members had taken a fall and was in medical distress. And so Greg very calmly conveyed that there was an issue, calmed the team member down, asked for someone to call 911, and then also contacted our team, our managers, to come and help assist. And while our my risk and security manager was there to be in the room, Greg calmly directed the emergency staff services to come in, where to go, where to help out, and he stayed the whole time. He was, like I said, calm, cool, and collected, and used quick thinking that ultimately helped save one of our members in medical distress. So I can't thank you enough, Greg, for being there for my team and doing such a great job. So thank you so much, Greg.
I was a lot calmer that day than I am in front of this podium. I'm just happy that our coworker is doing well and actually back at work already. So that's fantastic. I appreciate MST having the Employee of the Month. Where I worked last time, we had Employee of the Month, but it was a family business. So my mom just won it every time. So it's nice being able to have a chance to win it. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kelly.
Your mother's very proud of you. So, there you go, grace under pressure, right? That's the definition. And MST defines safety as our number one priority. And we define that as caring for others in all we do. We speak a lot about our safety on the road, but we also care about each other, right? And thank you for caring about our team. And so with that, on behalf of the board, I'd like to present you with this resolution of appreciation and this beautiful pen, but more importantly, this is some cold hard cash.
He was gonna get part of this. And I said, only if I mention your name, so I didn't.
Let's get a photo of the chair and vice chair.
I did want to mention that this is not a first, so in August of 2025, did you not receive a Employee of the Month as well?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Did your mother call that one in too? Quick photo for our social media and yeah, come on, family, sure, absolutely. Again, yeah.
Thank
Thank you very much.
I know.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. And then one more. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Put the check right up front.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the important part.
I love these recognitions too. It's my favorite part.
Well, we always have someone.
With that, we'll go ahead and move on to item 5. This is a public hearing and it's kind of twofold. Kelly Halcon will be giving us a presentation or update on the vacant positions at MST Transit District, and then so we'll receive status of the vacant positions and then conduct a public hearing to receive union comments on open positions within their bargaining units.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to direct your attention to the presentation in front of you. This presentation is, as our chair mentioned, reviewing the vacant and open positions that we have here at MST. Next slide, please. What we will cover is the history and purpose of AB 2561. We're going to highlight some of the data that we have gathered over the year regarding our recruitment efforts and our vacancies. We're going to go over our recruitment strategies, our retention strategies, and our industry struggles that prevent us from maybe closing that gap of all the vacancies that we have. And then we're going to review staff recommendation to the board. Next slide, please. So the history and purpose of AB 2561 was that it was signed into law in September of 2024 by Governor Newsom and became effective on January 1st of 2026. It was amended the Myers-Millis-Brown Act to address staffing vacancies in local public agencies and improve transparency in workforce management. It creates a public forum for agencies to disclose staffing levels, vacancy rates, and recruitment efforts, fostering accountability. It also involves the employer organizations so that the law aims to reduce conflicts and improve collaboration between agencies and staff. Next slide, please. On this slide, you will see the data highlights. We have a breakdown of the positions within each employee group, the number of vacancies, and then what the vacancy percentage is. As you can see, none of the employee groups break the 20% vacancy threshold of AB 2561. You will also notice the ATU is showing a negative due to our over budget in drivers. And we're doing this because of the fact, one, we want to stay ahead of attrition within the driver group so that we can make sure that we still can get service levels, put bodies in the seats, so forth. And we're also gearing up, and you'll see this in the budget in June, is that we're increasing our number of drivers for this year and the year after in preparing for the SURF busway, the anticipation of the number of drivers that will need to operate that line. So we made the decision this year to take a chunk out of that so that it's not such a hard hit on the staffing numbers now. At this time, I want to highlight efforts in which we track district vacancies. So every Friday, I receive a report on the status of recruitment efforts on all open positions from our HR assistants. Things that are included in these emails are the classification, the number of openings within their classification, applications received, and who's ready for interview, when interviews are scheduled. As the recruitment for that opening comes to an end, the HR assistants provide the outcome of the interviews, how many offers went out, if the offer was accepted, and a tentative start date. This information helps to keep track of our staffing levels, how fast the recruitment is moving, and where there are delays in the process potentially. On a weekly basis, I check in with Steve Ramirez, our ATU 1225 president, who's actually in the audience right now, to discuss ATU staffing concerns, if there are any, disciplinary matters, and issues of possible concern. In addition, Jared Augusta, who's the current chair of MSTA, who's our risk and security manager, is already part of our HR department. So he is aware of our recruitment status and what's happening in our recruitment efforts. In addition, any open positions the open positions are reported on a monthly basis to the board agenda packet. And this allows the board to review the number and ask questions if there are any concerns. This report can usually be found on the last page of the monthly reports in your packet. Next slide, please. So now I want to review some of our recruitment efforts for FY 2025 and 2026. There's 18 classifications that were open this year. 2 positions we're always accepting applications for, which are suburban board operators and utility service person. In committee this morning, Carl mentioned that the suburban board operator position is a new classification that we opened up last May. So it's now been fully in effect for a year. And this is now the new entry for drivers. So they start out as a suburban board operator, and then they are promoted into the coach operator position. 132 individuals were interviewed for open positions this year. 132. MST extended 69 offers of employment to candidates, and 18 were internal candidates alone. There are about 3.5 people, because I count myself as a half person in the recruitment process, working on these activities. And about 60% of our work week is used to review recruitment documents, post open positions, review and assess applications, respond to applicant questions, set up interviews, sit on interviews, make job offers, coordinate pre-employment testing and background tests, and onboarding efforts. Since last May, the HR team has onboarded 47 new hires. Majority of our recruitment efforts go toward drivers, mechanic, and utility service people. Over this period of time, MST also had 32 people leave the district, 5 people retired, 15 resigned voluntarily, 4 resigned in lieu of termination, 5 were terminated during their introductory period, and 1 person retired due to permanent work restrictions. Those who resigned for another job had worked for MST on an average of 2 years before they left, and majority of the individuals who left were drivers in training. Most people state the work schedule as the biggest drawback for why they don't stay as a driver. Next slide, please. Here are some of the recruitment strategies that we use in our department to lure people to MST, to show them that there's some great positions that are within public sector. MST offers employee referral bonus to any of the employees who refer a candidate who's made it through their introductory period. And that referral bonus is $350. ATU employees receive a signing bonus of up to $3,500. They get $500 after they pass their training or introductory period. They get another $1,000 after working 1,000 hours within their step 1, which is about 6 months. And then they get another $2,000 after working 2,000 hours in step 2. And this equates to about almost 2 years. So what we're trying to do is you're giving them bonuses along the way to entice them to stay for 2 to 3 years in their career. And by that point, particularly for drivers, they're now understanding how the system, how the schedules work, how to bid, what the work hours are. And so it helps them kind of settle in their position and then reward them for settling in their position. For administrative positions, they receive $500 once they pass their introductory period. When we have a position open up, we work with the hiring manager to get all the documents ready to go, including interview questions. That way, we're not having to stop every little bit in the recruitment process. If we work on getting all that work done in the very beginning, then it moves much quicker and smoothly. We also pre-schedule the interview dates, so they're already on the calendars of the interview panel. And so that way they know when they're going to interview for these open vacancies. We are able, if we're able to have, let's just talk about drivers. If we're able to have smaller training classes, then I only have to allocate 1 trainer to that group. Right now, we've been having bigger classes, so I'm having to allocate more of my staff to training drivers. But we're hoping now that we are ahead of the process, we can go back to just having smaller training groups. We also offer very competitive benefits, and we notice because we do compensation studies all the time to check to see where we stand with our local cities, our county, and even our own peers within California. And we also provide, of course, a free bus pass because everybody wants to work for that free bus pass for them and their dependents. Next slide, please. So you may ask, Kelly, how do you maintain these employees? Well, let me tell you. There are schedules that employees can bid on. That's for the drivers, the mechanics, the facility techs, utility service people. In addition, admin employees can work alternative work schedules with a possibility of a hybrid work schedule. This particularly has come in handy when we have an increase of traffic on our commuting routes. A majority of our staff actually works in Salinas and commutes into Monterey to work out of this admin office. So by providing an alternative work schedule, we're able to entice them to stay and they're not having to come in all the time. MST also has multiple employee recognition programs that you guys have seen at the board level in front of you presented. Employee of the Month Thank you, Greg. Oh, he left. Employee of the Year, we recognize our drivers with Favorite Driver of the Year, which is recognized in March. The Right Way Awards, Peer of the Year Award, the General Manager Excellence Award, and we keep trying to come up with new programs all the time to recognize our employees for all the good work that they do. Drivers receive uniform cleaning allowances, admin that are required to uniforms. We also provide them with a cleaning allowance. Maintenance personnel have uniforms provided and cleaned for them. They have their safety, their PPE equipment for working on zero electric emission buses is all provided for them. Their shoes are provided for them. So that these clothes that are for PPE can be very, very expensive. So we're trying to help with that cost. They also get a tool allowance to help them buy tools. We also provide on-the-job training. So we try to work with our industry training consortiums that are out there to provide training for our staff. I put together a monthly training for our supervisors and managers so they can work on topics of interest for them. And then we also go to industry conferences that are out there, which are to CTA, CALAC, CTAA, ESRI, Think Transit, and etc. Next slide, please. So what acts as a roadblock to some of these things that I'm trying to work on, or my team's trying to work on? Public sector compliance requires pre-employment drug screen, pre-employment background checks, DMV, and federal motor care requirements. These are all potential roadblocks. Now, is it good to do a background check? Of course. But we are seeing an increase of positive drug screens because of pot being legalized in certain states. We didn't see this for a long time, and now we're starting to see this increase. In addition, we are seeing that DMV has implemented some cost saving strategies on their own end that have really put a wrench on our drivers, class commercial drivers being able to maintain their driving documents. Particularly the federal government has done their non-domicile requirement, and so we do have a couple employees that fell within that and lost their commercial driver's license, but we were able to find them jobs internally to keep them employed. But there are, the federal government is taking longer to go through and approve some of the documents for DACA individuals and other individuals who are living here in the United States and trying to work. Also, sometimes our own collective bargaining agreements can be hindrances. A lot of people don't understand seniority, how that rules in union contracts. That can be very difficult, particularly for younger generations. They want to just run and get the assignment that they want. And the more senior drivers like, hold your horses. Like, I paid my dues, you need to pay yours too. Sometimes our work rules can be in the way, and we're trying to see what our work rules. We work with ATU all the time of looking at our work rules and see if we can do better scheduling within our work rule capabilities. Our hours of operation, we're only closed almost about 2.5, 3 hours. And so that's, late nights for some individuals, working the weekends, working the holidays. That can be tough for individuals who in the private sector maybe didn't have to work weekends, didn't have to work the holidays. And the tight job market. Some of your cities have seen this as well. And so what we're finding is candidates may demonstrate a lack of technical skills. They're hard to attract the next generation entering the job market. We have to compete with social media and what's on social media and what they think work looks like on social media. The Great Resignation also contributed to the difficulty in recruiting, as many have re-skilled themselves or left their job altogether. And we also have candidates that just ghost us. So they show interest and then they just don't return phone calls or emails when trying to contact them back. With that, we'll go to the last slide. Well, the next slide. So if I'm available for any questions that you might have at this time regarding the presentation.
So any questions? We'll go to Joe Emilio and then we'll, Director Worthy.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I know this is probably part of negotiations, but I was wondering does anybody get any night differential or weekend differential or holiday?
Michael's laughing. Yes, there is night differential and it kicks in at a certain time period, but there isn't a weekend differential.
There is?
There isn't.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Worthy.
My question is, do you see this trend continuing, especially with the new generation coming in? I think a lot of us are seeing it. I mean, we're seeing it in our cities too, trying to find people to fill certain positions. And is it a concern? Because what's going to happen is senior staffing at some point is going to retire. And are we going to have more and more difficulty trying to fill some of these positions?
So I would be remiss to say it's not a concern, but I think there are some ways to get around it. One is doing proper succession planning. So we have great staff already here. It's a matter of identifying staff members that are high performers that could make that next step into a supervisory management type of position. The other part of that is there is skill gaps. So we have to assess what those skill gaps are, and then we need to develop those team members so that they have the proper skills to be at that next level. And we're working on that. That's part of our internal trainings that we do and whatnot. I do think that, Norm has been working on and successfully. We've got our mentorship program that ATU is a part of that I think has really helped with some of these concerns. We're putting, I would say, more senior drivers with new drivers so that they understand a little bit better. They can have those kind of one-on-one conversations. And we just started our apprenticeship program where we had to started off internally of people that were interested in learning how to be mechanics, because mechanics are very hard to find. That's not a tech thing. I would say that, 10 years ago, there was a lot more tech schools and there was encouragement in high schools for or students to learn tech jobs. Or trade school jobs, and that kind of went away. And so you're starting to see a little bit of resurgence of that when people recognize where did the mechanics go. And so we're doing our own part. So we're trying to set up a line of individuals to just move into the mechanic position when we have vacancies here at MST. And we're probably about 6 weeks, 8 weeks in. So we'll see, we'll keep you up to date of how that's working out. And then I think that you have to just know generationally how to speak to the next generation in some of their coded words. And I think that is going to take a little bit more training. And I think that at some point you do see saturation in certain markets. And how many social influencers can you have out there? We'll see. Just one more, we'll tip it over. I don't know. And I think that will be interesting too. So when you start seeing saturation in certain markets, then you start seeing kind of the pendulum swing another direction. So there's still some things that are out there to kind of watch the trends, but there's ways that you can, as an employer, try to prepare yourself the best that you can.
I think the social skills, are probably the area that is lacking in some of our newer generations. At least it's been sort of our observations that we've noticed. So, because they're so used to being on their screens that they're not able to communicate in public as well sometimes. So I think that's one of the concerns that I have, but hopefully it'll all work itself out. It usually does.
Well, I will say it's been interesting to teach people how to fill out an application, or that they need to fill out an application if they want to get a job. That's been interesting. And Steve can speak to that as well. I'm not going to have him stand up, but he's been really helpful in his leadership team of working with these younger, newer employees coming in going, yeah, you got the job, great, you filled out that initial application. If you want to be promoted, you have to fill out an internal application to show that you're interested.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
I'm scared.
Mr. Delgado.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We think of younger generations as not as willing to engage person to person because of the screens. But my whole life, I've been intimidated by curt bus drivers. Never wanting to ask them a question or wanting to ask how. And when I do, it's often not an MST, but in my life, it's often been very short. Like, don't bother me, I'm working. So I don't know if the older generations have been great communicators. Would you say that the drivers is a category that you're having the most concern of filling positions?
You know, I felt that way during COVID, and then with the economy making the turn that it is currently as of today, where you are starting to see an increase in layoffs and industry closing, even in Monterey County, we are becoming now a more viable option for individuals looking for that career to drive. Where I do have the concern, because it's a technical skill that's hard, is mechanics in particular. I'm very scared about mechanics. I'm talking with my peers, and even in Monterey County, it is very hard to find mechanics right now. Was last June, I hosted kind of this open house for students, high school students and college students that were interested in the mechanic field. These high school students are kind of amazing. They were smart, but they had side hustles. And so they're working as mechanics in their own community by word of mouth. They're like, why would I need to come and work when I can set my own schedule? So it's a matter of how do you convince them that there are job benefits to outside of the side hustle that could actually benefit them in the long run.
And do the mechanics work holidays, weekends, nights?
Unfortunately, they do. Yeah.
So Joe asked a question about pay for those shifts. And I suppose we don't do it because of the cost, but does it get to a point where you consider paying them more on those off shifts so that it's not an issue with retention?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. It's not that it hasn't come up at the table, because I would say that AT would love something like that. Yeah. She's in the corner. What we have done is try to be kind of strategic in how we schedule the mechanics. So Norm and Frank have been really good about trying to do kind of like those schedules where potentially they work the weekend or they work late night. They have consecutive days off, or they have maybe like a later time. I mean, we try to do more prettier schedules for them. Is it potentially working? I think for some, but it is hard for that younger generation who's coming in to understand about holidays in particular.
I remember as a kid, if you worked at Thrifty and scooped ice cream, you'd get time and a half. So in other industries, paying differentials is common.
Yeah.
So if we get to a point in MST where it's an issue, it seems like that's kind of the standard.
They make good overtime. I'm going to say that because of the fact that their RDO, if they work on their day off. So we take volunteers too. So on the holidays, you can volunteer to work on that holiday. It's an automatic time and a half, and you get to bank the holiday hours.
So the holidays are covered, but I guess the late night and weekends aren't similarly covered.
They get a premium pay for the night, but not for the weekend.
Okay,
Not
so
for the
nights
weekend.
and holidays, there's a compensation. and
Yeah,
Weekends there's not.
correct.
And why is that? Why is a night more important to compensate than a weekend?
Because that's what AT would really like. That's what they bring up
Okay.
at the table.
And that's when the buses are here to work on are at night. where the buses are out on the road during the day. Then they come back in the evening, and that's when we need our mechanics in the evenings to do the work.
That's gotta be tough. Yeah.
Okay, and you don't need them as much on the weekends, so that's why they're compensated at night, but not on the weekend.
Well, and again, as Kelly mentioned, it's subject to collective bargaining. This is what we bargained.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Yes, Director.
Ms. Halkin, you mentioned a little bit of the drug testing. Can you just share a little bit of you mentioned the cannabis use. I understand, I don't know how true this is, that if I smoke cannabis today, that it stays in my system for 30 days. I hear that. I don't know how true that is, but how does your drug testing work for the drivers? When somebody has something,
A positive.
yeah.
So where we're seeing in pre-employments, they tend to be cannabis. We do give them heads up that if you're offered, you're gonna have to take a pre-employment test. That doesn't seem to quite, reach to the top of understanding. If we have a positive on our randoms, it's not necessarily pot.
So Tony, I think to maybe get to where you're going with that is the tests, pre-employment test for cannabis is not testing for presence, because the presence may, as you said, may be stored in your fat cells for weeks, more than weeks. We're testing for a federally mandated level of presence. That generally means that you've, participated relatively, frequently, or it's been pretty close to the time that you've tested. So you have to have an elevated presence, and I don't know, it's 0.15 nanograms. There's some, I don't recall the number, but it's somewhere around there. That's what it used to be anyway. So that's what we're testing for, a level. Not that if you once had it and it's somewhere in a hair last for, we're looking for a specific level that's dictated by the federal government.
Yeah. And as we say, I mean, generations change. I mean, I'm sure there'll be solutions here instead of being scared, but do you think, because it's a different mindset, now it's legal, but do you see it more often with more drivers, or just at a minimum?
It's across the board with the safety sensitive positions that we house. So it's not just drivers. We have mechanics. I would say the main testers are mechanics and drivers. There's other positions too, but they're the biggest group. There's more members of that potentially get tested. So
Does administration also get tested?
No, so the requirement, it's a federal requirement. They define not only the levels that we test at, but who gets tested. So you have to be directly responsible for the operation of the vehicle, maintenance of the vehicle, or directly supervising the operation of the vehicle or the maintenance of the vehicle. That is kind of so an accountant isn't regular, and it has to be part of your regular job duties. So for example, once in a blue moon, if there's an earthquake or some civil disaster and I have to throw myself into, I'm helping coordinate things, which generally shouldn't be happening because we have a structure that keeps me out of that. But if I were to do that as part of my job duties once in a blue moon, that doesn't make me safety sensitive. It has to be part of your everyday job to be doing those things I described, to be in the pool, to be drug tested, because we don't want to dilute the pool.
Director Cabrera.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I'm looking at the job openings for MST, and I see mechanic A. So if I'm young, these guys will not know what a mechanic A is. I was wondering if we could have a little bit more description, and if we have something like a mechanic trainee or something that we can attract more people to that.
So, we had what was considered a training position with the mechanic. It wasn't utilized correctly, and that caused a union issue. So we had to eliminate that. On the website, it has A, B, and C.
Mhm.
And that's in compliance with EEO requirements of how you recruit. So I also have to stay within federal
All right.
requirements.
So it's a federal requirement.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I usually don't go to Starbucks because those names are really complicated for me. So what is an intelligent transportation system technician?
That position is, well, they work in the IT department and they work with maintaining the bus cameras and our radio and AVL system on the buses.
Okay. And same thing for Suburban, it's a bus driver.
Mhm.
Okay. Do we get those 300s if we recommend people? No, but how about partnership with Harnell, for instance? Harnell has a mechanic program. Do we have partnership with them?
We do have a partnership with Hartnell, and Norm and I have worked with them over the years. Their program had some stumbling blocks, particularly because they had they need to find people to actually train on this too. And then they're trying to transition their curriculum or add to their curriculum the zero emission technology. But Norm can speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, we've had some ongoing discussions with them, and we continue having discussions with Hartnell. They've had some movement and turnover within their staff at the levels that I participate in, but we're actively engaged in conversations. Any way that we can trade notes, create workforce development programs, partner with our apprenticeship program that we have actively going right now. We're doing as much as we can, but we continue those conversations. Yeah.
Because I think I heard they're planning to move some of those trainings to the Soledad side. Well, that would be.
I can't confirm that.
No, that's what I heard.
That's what we were hoping. We're like,
Yeah.
man, if they get closer to South County, now we have a garage that's nearby them. But yeah, those are the conversations that we continue having with them, and we'll report back to this board once we hear some movement that we think you guys need to be involved with in here.
Is there anything that we South County representatives can do to help you guys?
I can't think of anything right now, but if there is something, I'll get in touch with Carl. Yeah.
One. My last question. I have another question, but I think I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question and comment, I guess, and that would be with the change in fleets going more to electric. With mechanics, and mechanics are very good at what they do, so is there going to be a change or training? With the change of fleets?
So keep in mind that we've had battery electric prior to COVID, and we were training on that as well. The training out there at the start of when zero emission buses were going out initially was 0 to none. And the transit industry had to really push about, we're buying these buses, we're required to buy these buses, but there's no training for our mechanics or any type of program. Norm is the board chair of a training consortium that has really picked up their game in putting together a curriculum for this.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So I'm the chair of the California Transit Training Consortium, and that's exactly what we do. We identify the needs of the transit agencies across the state of California, in particular zero emission bus training. So we have developed curriculum in partnership with some of the local colleges, particularly in Southern California. We started out in Southern California, and then about 2 years ago, we changed our name to California instead of the Southern California Transit Training Consortium. So we're statewide now, and we take those programs to our member agencies at no fee unless we deliver it in person at their site. So at no cost to the transit agency other than their annual membership. We bring those trainings to them online. And then the capstone of the zero emissions training happens at the facility where they do hands-on with their own buses. Yeah, so that's a struggle that we've been having about finding to find reliable funding. And that's one of the biggest goals of the agency, of the consortium right now, is to identify reliable funding sources that we can continue receiving so that we can continue developing and delivering this curriculum across the state.
Thank you, Nan.
Yeah, I remember my question. Do we train our bus driver?
Oh, goodness, yes, we do.
Okay,
Their training program is about 6 to 8 weeks. That's under my department. And I mean, it's been in process since even dawn of time of MST, some type of training program you're required to under federal motor carrier DOT.
The regulated requirements by a long shot. We far exceed what's required under law for training. And then in addition, our drivers, once you pass your training, 6 to 8 weeks, you're then required every year to get 8 hours of verification of transit training. That is a refresher on anything from workplace violence to how to handle a biohazard to customer service. We define there are some certain state regulated items that we must cover, but we have room in that 8 hours to define whatever the issue may be. It may be human trafficking, it may be whatever the topic of the year is going to be. All drivers get an additional 8 hours every year of training.
beautiful. Thank you. Thanks.
Any other questions at this time from directors? And I'd like to thank you, Kelly, for your update. We do have, so this was an update on the vacant budgeted positions. I'm wondering if I know what we're going to conduct a public hearing to receive union comments on open positions within the bargaining units. Should we break this up into two public comments?
No, I recommend moving into section B of this, which is commencing the public hearing. Start with allowing the unions to speak and then move to the general public after that.
Okay, thank you. So with that, at this time, we will conduct a public hearing to receive union comments on open positions within their bargaining units. So public comment is open at this time. And I do invite, we do have three different units, I believe.
We have two different bargaining units and then the confidential unit.
Oh, yes, okay, thank you. So public comment is open.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Thank you.
Is this for the union or can I make I'm an end user, I wanted to make a comment if that was.
He came in after public comments
Yeah.
not on the agenda, so we were going to wait until after
Yeah.
the item complete.
Yeah, when this item is completed, I am going to go back to public comments
That's
to
fine,
the
thank you.
public at that time. So thank you. So at this time, public comment is open for the union to receive union comments on the open positions within their bargaining units.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steve Ramirez. I'm the president of ATU 1225. Comments, retention, open door policy, being able to go in and walk in to talk to Kelly and Norm. A great deal. I go to a lot of conventions and just the comment of, hey, you don't hate your general manager? We're like, no, it's, you don't fight with your HR person, your chief operating officer, you could talk to him anytime you want. The relationship that we have, ATU, with MST is phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. It's the best relationship by far when I travel to these election committees, this California Conference Board, we always talk about the relationship we have. And I say that because it's a big thing right now with retention, right? And the new generation coming in. And what it is to answer your question, Vice Chair, it's the lack of accountability these new people have, right? The new kids, I want it now. right? During negotiations, I think we negotiated a very fair contract, right? We got a percentage that was unheard of until this year, right? And I have a lot of new people that say, well, that's great, but I want it now. I want it now. I want everything now. Well, wait a minute. This is not the way it works here, right? You know, I've been here 21 years, right? I'm number 16 on seniority list. Well, that's fine for you, but I don't want to wait. You know, I want it now. So that's part of the transition that we have to go through. But the retention, our mentorship program, which I have a meeting for that in about 45 minutes, it's great. Kelly was speaking on that. We now pair a new driver with an old timer. And so with that is, hey, there's a lot of new guys that just have the basic questions, right? How should I set my alarm? Right? If I'm sitting here on standby, I'm going to forget to clock in because I don't go anywhere for lunch. That's when I get a call, right? Hey, we have a miss out, but I didn't go anywhere. Well, I'll try to explain that. Yeah. So we have that pairing, which says, hey, you got to set your alarm when you sit down, right? You got to set 2 alarms, right? Just the basic questions on, you know, what time you should go to bed if you get up at 3 o'clock, right? These kids want to go to bed at midnight. You're not going to make a 3 o'clock shift, 4:30 shift. You're just not, right? That, you know, you're going to set yourself up for failure. But doing this has kept people that normally we would have lost. And so with our program, the mentorship, that's going to retain a great deal of people that we would have lost. You know, I have a good testimony on my personal one. Couldn't pass the DMV test, right? I was shopping at Safeway, phone goes off. Hey, I need to talk to you. Went back out to the car. I got a great wife, by the way, because I call, my phone doesn't stop ringing. Hey, what's wrong? I didn't pass. I don't know what I'm gonna do. You know, I'm big on prayer, right? I'm like, you know everything. Our training is phenomenal. Our trainers with their training class, Kelly oversees that. That's the best training class that I've ever seen. So the fact that he knew the information, he would just get in front of the DMV tester and freak out.
Yeah.
Right. So he knew everything.
Can't test.
Told him to calm down, right? Say a prayer before you got on, whether you believe in that or not. That's my advice. You should have seen it when he passed. He called me up. Jared called me, right? The training people called me and said, hey, he passed. I thought I passed. You should have seen me. I was jumping up and down too. Yeah, it was incredible feeling the testimony that we have now. It works. If we can get now our new people just to trust their mentor, right? It's groundbreaking. It's groundbreaking. And as Norm said, and Kelly, our apprenticeship, we do now have a roadway that a utility person, a mechanic, and soon Hartnell and Cabrillo and all these castles are going to jump on because it's just, they see it working and now they want to be a part of it. So that has to come, right? But now we have a road for a driver, utility person, right? Facilities to be a mechanic. And that was unheard of until recently, right? So we have people in the training class. How many, Norm? We have 3 people, right, in a training class. And again, it was bargained. We said, what if this, everything was open. And it's very, very understanding that nothing is in stone because it's the beginning. So if something doesn't work, Norm has agreed that we'll go back to the drawing board and make sure it works, because we got to have a place for these people if at 6 months they don't succeed, right? They just can't have a job. But again, there was like, no way, that's not our intent. So working with these guys has just been really easy for the union. Yeah, our relationship on keeping drivers and mechanics is pushing forward, and we're going to be doing great things. Thank you.
Thank you. Good energy.
And public comment
Aren't
is
all your
still open?
unions like this?
Chair, seeing no other public comment, I recommend closing the public hearing.
Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and close public comment of the public hearing. And I'll bring it back to the directors. There is a staff recommendation on page 45 to receive an update on the status of vacant budgeted positions at Monterey Salinas Transit District and the next one, it's twofold. The next one was to conduct a public hearing to receive the union comments on open positions within their bargaining units. And with that, I'll ask legal, Mr. Laredo, will this be a roll call vote? I'll ask.
There is no
motion.
action needed. It was just receiving the report and conducting the hearing, and both items have been done.
Okay.
So we comply with the law until next year.
That's right.
And thank you. With that, I am going to reopen public comments on matters not on the agenda. And at this time, members of the public may address the board on any matter related to the jurisdiction of MST, but what is not on the agenda. And I did see that we had a public person come to join in a little late, and so I would like to give him the courtesy to come up to the podium to speak.
David Rodriguez.
Thank you. And I would first of all like to thank you very much for this service. It's made a life change for me. As you know, I was very independent before, drove all over the country as an engineer, and was very used to being independent. So this program has helped me a lot. I did want to Kelly, address Kelly. I can't hold the microphone, I'm sorry. I would, Kelly, I did learn a lot from your presentation myself. And with that said, I would like to bring a couple of things to your attention. Ever since Transdev took over, the issue of safety, there used to be a red belt that wheelchair passengers were required to wear if they didn't have their own wheelchair or their own belt on their wheelchair. And this has now been discontinued. I would like to bring the board's attention that is risky because some passengers do not wear a lap belt. So if they decline the 7-point shoulder belt, that would put other passengers at risk, as well as that individual that opted not to put the 7-point belt on. Interesting what you were saying about encouraging people to stay longer working for MST. I find that a lot of the younger drivers are not even aware of your 401k program. This is something that would be maybe used to encourage those employees to stay longer with MST. As I know that in high school, a lot of these students don't get that financial education, so they don't even know to ask about the 401k. So that might be something to incentivize those employees to stay longer, as they have something to look forward to when they retire, which a lot of these individuals don't do, don't even know to ask, or aren't even taught to do that. One other issue that I did want to bring up, and I'm sure that it was brought earlier to your attention by Yvonne, was sometimes the dispatchers on the weekends don't answer the phones, and I find myself 1, 2, sometimes even 3 hours trying to schedule an appointment for the next day. Cutoff is at 5 o'clock, and which is fair, but sometimes the dispatchers won't answer the phone for several hours. I find myself leaving messages that get ignored, and it makes it difficult to move around for the next day. So I wanted to bring that to the attention. I did have one incident where I was actually stuck in Seaside until 7, and I was about to call the police because I thought I was just going to be stranded. But there has been a little bit of improvement to that. But I did want to bring that to the board's attention, just to bring up with the dispatch supervisor to address that issue, if we could, please.
Yeah. We have Kevin and Ola are right behind you, and they can get more details from you, and we can address that. I can assure you 3 hours waiting for a call is unacceptable.
Yeah,
So
no,
we
it
will
does.
get that information from you.
Okay, and thank you for that. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
Didn't happen ever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one other issue about the mechanics, I do hear these complaints from the drivers a lot, where they submit in order for a mechanical issue to be addressed, and it doesn't, they express their frustrations to even the passengers. And, you know,
Mr. Rodriguez, we are over 3 minutes.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was a time limit. But anyhow, again, thank you, board. This service is a life changer for me. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day.
Thank you for your comment. And with that, we will move to the next item, which is an action item, item 6.1, page 53 in your agenda, and the subject is Sun Street Planning and Design. And Miss Lisa Reinheimer will give us a presentation.
Yes, thank you, Chair and members of the board. Lisa Reinheimer, Deputy CEO for MST. Well, we have some good news for you today. Tomorrow we'll be closing on the 139 Sun Street. So MST will be proud owners of new property in Salinas for our expansion needs. It came in at $5,978,674.90. That includes about $3,700 worth of closing costs for an actual sale amount of $5,000,975. So where we are currently at on Victor Way is 2.3 acres, and we're busting at the seams. We are very limited in what we can do in terms of providing additional services to the city of Salinas with, you know, bus rapid transit or much more high demand routes. So we've been looking at a way to expand our facility for many years, and the Sun Street location, which was owned, well, is owned until tomorrow by the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority. They've moved out of there. It's 6.8 acres. And so as the board knows, you authorized this purchase. Their board authorized the sale. So tomorrow will be the day. I'm very excited. It happened very quickly. We now are moving into the planning and design phase for our future needs, or existing actually and future needs. So we met with the city of Salinas and presented them with some design options that we'll go through here in a minute with our designers at Stantec. We have Will Todd as well as Francisco Waltersdorfer, who will be presenting some of the design concepts in a minute, but I did want to go to your attention to page 67 of your report, which has an attachment with about 27 community outreach organizations that we would like to get with at some point over the next 6 months or so. We'll need to talk with our Sun Street neighbors about the concepts that we're developing. And, you know, that was one of the messages we heard from the city of Salinas when we met with them about this particular location. So we have on the site, this 6.8 acre site, we have 2 distinct spaces. One is more of a community building outdoor space, which will go into mostly on the PowerPoint presentation. There's room for a boardroom. So we're thinking that on alternate months to make it easier for our South County members yay, to get to an MST board, we can meet in this new community space. And then it could be open up to other community groups. TAMC also has a board meeting every month. It could be made available to them as well. It would also house some staff for MST training opportunities, a training room space, as well as customer service and some other ancillary opportunities there, including a closed session boardroom space. So that's what Francisco is going to go over, but the other portion of it is more of the functional back end of MST, including dispatch, or operations, maintenance, fueling, EV and regular fueling, bus washing, communication center, supervisors, bus parking, employee parking, all the, you know, so the behind the scenes stuff that we need to do in order to deliver service on a daily basis. So over the next year, we'll be working with Stantec and team on the environmental documentation, get more into the detail on the design space, as well as conducting some of this public outreach. And as you look at those public outreach groups, please just let me know if there are additional ones that you want us to get at, reach out to. The list there was taken from additional outreach that we had done for the Salinas Transit Center relocation and bus rapid transit study. So we've been doing some public outreach anyway, but let me know later on if there are additional folks that you'd like us to reach out to. And then hopefully by the end of the year, early next year, we'll have those environmental documents all complete and done, and we can initiate some additional right of way that we, some acquisition that we need for some sliver parcels to the north and to the south of us that complete the entirety of the project. So with that, I'll pause there, and we have a great presentation for you from Stantec, and hopefully, Francisco, you're available for hearing.
Francisco, are you there?
Hello, can you?
There we go. We can hear you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for the introduction. We're super excited about sharing this very unique project with you all. Let me ask, will I be sharing my screen, or should we go with the slide deck that is currently being shared?
Yes, I should have mentioned that to you. We have the slides here. So when you want to move to the next one, just say next, please.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Could we go to the next slide? Well, the intent, again, is to share with you some design options for the community hub, which is essentially the heart of this project as it engages the city. And we have explored various studies between building landscape and how also community life is mixed. There are potentially two ways of looking at how we have organized our studies. We are calling one the civic arch and the variations. And these will be characterized for having an expression that is probably very open and welcoming architecturally. And the other one we are calling a screen porch and variations. And then this path is still trying to create an inviting gesture, but it's just being more focused on creating a secure yet porous edge, right? But both are trying to work in what we imagine a way of dissolving the threshold so that a community can be invited. Could we go to the next slide, please? One of our favorite parts about this project is that it happens to be within what is being called El Corazón, within the Pueblo area, in the district identity that Salinas is aspiring for and planning already with great success. The site, as you can see in this exhibit, is located near the intersection of Griffin Street with Alisal Street, a bit north. And we think of it as a hinge between community fabric and future development, right? Like this is going to be an opportunity to create an anchor that starts expressing Alisal's evolving district character. Could we please go to the next slide? And at the same time, as we start layering other pieces of information, what we want to do with this exhibit is that not only highlight that the site is at the heart of the Pueblo neighborhood, but at the same time that it has the opportunity of connecting to the larger green braid that is also part of the district identity site plan, right? Like, and this, we have done nothing more than just highlighting the presence of existing trees, creating opportunities for green corridors. Could this be, we ask, an opportunity to revitalize what currently is a heavily industrial landscape? Can we go to the next one, please? In this notion of a heart of Salinas, the central place that reflects the richness, resilience, and diversity of Salinas could be the site, right? Where culture, community, and everyday life converge. If we could go to the next one, we could also share some insights on our explorations and what Salinas looks like today. It's a very lively place that has not only the identity that many people may recognize within the arch, but it's also expressed throughout a variety of buildings that introduce color and vibrance. So a big question for us has been, how can you still express this vibrance without necessarily always touching to color, right? But how could architecture support this boldness? And at the same time, be as inviting as a vibrant color? Not an easy challenge, but we'll be happy to share some ideas with you. In the next slide, you will be seeing the location of a community, what we call in the community hub within the larger campus of Monterrey Salinas Transit, right? So we imagine that this can be an opportunity for a bold formal expression that uses more unique material and color to highlight the civic heart and the character of this building. We could go to the next slide. And then I'm going to use an analogy, right? For buildings, we often, within architecture, call it the vertical of a development. We think that the horizontal is as important as the vertical. And when I talk about horizontal, I'm referring to the landscape, the hardscape, everything that is connecting the building to the city, right? And it turns out that as part of the scope of the hub, there's also a public community area that is connecting the campus to Griffin Street and beyond, right? So what we are thinking here is that maybe this could be a hardscaped area that is framed by lush greenery and turns the front door of the campus into a public setting for informal gathering and community activation. If we could go to the next slide. And then what you are seeing now on your screens are diagrammatic representations of this building. And as I mentioned before, we're not just showing you two ideas, but a family of ideas, right? So I would love for you to think about these buildings as related, not necessarily brothers and sisters, but more like cousins, because they have shared cues that still deliver the same, right? So there's a sense of familiarity within each. So we will start with the civic arch. If we could go to the next slide, please. And on the left-hand side, you will see a large, you're probably seeing a large picture that's rendering a depiction of what that building may look like within the plaza space that I just described, that may be hardscape and may have some elements that invite people to hang out, have an informal meeting, grab a bite with a friend. And on the right-hand side, we have, and this is common in all of the slides and the way that we have built it, we have some sources of inspiration, right? Like these are not to be understood as the building. The idea for the building is on the left. On the right-hand side, the little pictures are sources of inspiration that we hope can help others build the idea as an overall, right? Like we always find that to be helpful. So an arch, for example, in this case, is creating two openings. We have a subtle band of color that echoes the architecture of Salinas within a recessed profile to quietly celebrate the form, at the same time that it introduces a restrained layer of warmth within the wall, highlighting in a way the presence of the arch and guiding people to come into the gateway conditions. And the next slide will probably show you this from a different view. Well, not a different view, but more a different perspective, right? Like we don't want to be shy on color, but another idea that we had was, what if the facade could be a white canvas, right? Like designed as an opportunity for collaboration with artists. And maybe even find an opportunity for community identity and express it. The next slide will show you a different expression of the arch, where we are being a little bit more exploratory with form. You may have noticed that what we are doing is a gentle push that actually coincides with the angle of griefing at the same time. As you can see in the top right corner is what we call a plan vignette that is illustrating the change between the previous scheme and this scheme, and also the orange indicates where you're looking from. So what we really like about this idea is that it creates also an opportunity for a slightly covered or sunscreened area that could invite other different types of functions, right? So no longer you have just the building with the door and a threshold that is very common, but there's an interstitial space that could again open the door for other types of activities, right? Like maybe a concert or a theater show, or there's so many different possibilities. The next view might show you how this feels in terms of depth, because we understand the limitations of looking at things only from one area. So if we could go to the next, please. The next slide shows you how this arch is extending from where the community hub's door is and creating this interstitial space. That again, remember what we mentioned at the very beginning of a presentation, in a way dissolving that threshold, right? Like to create different opportunities to use the space architecturally. If we could go to the next. This is a different variation that we thought could benefit from the dynamism of walking along a street, right? Like it's what we affectionately call the fins, right? So these are vertical fins that are arrayed along the facade and can have a subtle atemporal color on the front side of the facade, but then introduce color on the sides as a provocative way, again, to be bold but quiet at the same time, right? Like we would really love to continue working on an idea that will be timeless and not just stuck with one color, right? So we think that this could still deliver color in an elegant way. If we could go to the next slide. I believe this presents another view. And again, in trying to describe in a better way the dynamism, right? Like the building, imagine this, can change color depending on where you are standing. Wouldn't that be beautiful, right? Like we thought like, wow, I mean, this could be so inviting as you drive by Griffin. It could also become a memorable anchor, right? Like if you're trying to support wayfinding with somebody, it's like, oh, I don't know how far I am. Well, it's next to the colorful arc. And this is again something that could be triggered, not even in you don't even have to participate in the activities. All it takes is to drive by and enjoy it as a piece of the city. One thing that I wanted to mention that we have been trying to do here as a team is that imagining that this hardscape area could be furnished with sinuous curved forms similar to the ones from the facade that are softer and inviting circular landscape treatments, right? Like that could just create almost like what we were calling these gentle points of gravity that start bringing people from one place to another, right? So that they can also meet within little hubs. If we could go to the next slide. This is already leaving the arch behind, right? So now we're gonna go back. If you recall, we had the arch being a little bit more organic and softer. And then on the right-hand side, the diagram looking at the screen porch, which actually, at the similar to the arch, tries to draw inspiration from the vernacular of Salinas, right? Like what things we saw when we were there and called our attention and thought like, well, this could deliver a lot if it's rethought or used in a different way. So this is recycling and evolving ideas from the screen porch that many of you, I assume, may be familiar with. It's defined by vernacular CMU blocks that usually come in a specific pattern. They could also be very simple. And the idea is that these screens can create the definition of form, right? And then through that, be able to filter light, air, and views while softly transitioning between public and private. So it's a threshold, but it's a porous threshold. If we could go to the next. This slide is just showing what would it be if we were to think about integration of landscape. But maybe the next one will be even more interesting than this one, because we think that there's a lot of opportunity when we think of how buildings behave at different times of the day. So the next slide is actually a visual treat. If we could go to the next. Because we imagine this building acting as a lantern, so that even during the night, activities can be seen in a really gentle, not invasive way, but delivering this warm glow that will help creating an inviting gesture within the neighborhood, even at later hours of the day. If we could go to the next. And this is to give you an idea how this may look from the inside, right? Like, because whenever you see a screen, that's really the always interesting and so important about this type of architectural expressions is that there is a face outside and there is a face inside, similar to how the arch was looking when you see it from a different angle. We thought that it was important, right? Like to be able to get a sense of how the hub would feel inside and how this screen porch interacts, right? Like, because you can still get access to daylight, you are enjoying the benefits from an interior space and also that intermediate transitional space in between, right? Like that allows users to enjoy the beauty of being outside without being completely outside. If we could go to the next. Another idea was thinking of maintenance in the long term if the screens presented any challenges. Sorry, the CMU blocks. One thought was to still think with a modular mindset. And what if the screen was also an array of a vertical architectural expression, similar to the fins that were applied on the arch. And then again, the beauty of a more of a deeper fin is that it also delivers different levels of privacy depending on where you're standing. If you're standing on a full frontal angle, you may be able to see through. But as you are walking north or south, then it's more of an architectural expression than a window or a facade addition. So if we could go into the next slide. We think that this one, for example, could cater to an integration of landscape. This, of course, introduces other criteria that we need to be mindful of, such as maintenance. But we thought that this could be also another possibility of creating a vibrant, inviting boundary, right? Not one that is just saying you cannot go in, but in fact, it does the opposite. And if we could go to the next slide. And that shows you a full frontal view where the green screen is in a way doing its part in creating a visually porous boundary for those who are outside, but you can almost imagine if you were inside that you could still see through, and the way that the daylight will hit this, it will just cast a beautiful live green color, right, as you are inside. And then one highlight worth mentioning is that what we have been working within our team for this scheme is just exploring maybe what you could call a binary approach, right? Like, so if you, on one hand, you have a landscape treatment that is softer and about curved forms. This one is more about discipline logic of vertical lines that are somehow in conversation with the screen porch and its orthogonal language. And if we could go to the next. This may be, I think, our last slide.
Francisco, I think that is your last slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for walking us through that. When we presented this to the city of Salinas, they did not express any particular interest or preference for any, but liked all. So that's where I think the public outreach plays into, you know, all of these different design options and going out to the community and seeing what is appropriate, especially for the neighbors of the Sun Street area for this particular space. So with that, we'd be, as a team, happy to answer any questions you have, get some initial feedback, and I'm ready to take notes.
And at this time, director's questions or comments? Director Worthy.
I guess my question is, and would be cost. I think that would be the issue based on all the designs, like which one is the most expensive? How are we going to pay for it?
All very good questions, and it's going to cost a lot. We have the funding available at the moment to go through this design phase and environmental phase and the acquisition phase. When we get into the design build phase, that's where we'll be going aggressively after grants, loans, whatever we can find. But we're not at the point yet to be able to tell you what the full cost will be, and not at the point yet to be able to tell you the difference between, say, this particular design on the screen and the arch design on the screen. That was probably a very unsatisfying answer, but it is the truth.
That's okay.
And I'm gonna throw one out. It's just kind of a comment. So one is how do we know how much surface is going to be covered in this project, and will permeable materials be used? Is with the pavement areas, will we be looking at oil water separators
Yes.
and all that?
Yes.
As far as environment.
Yes.
And then one little last one is I did notice that you had mentioned a couple slivers needed to be purchased somewhere in the future or next year.
Yes.
So yes.
Well, let me talk about the slivers first. They're to the north and to the south of where the Sun Street, or where the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority's properties are. Maybe 1 or 2 acres worth that would complete the project site. We're not allowed to, at this moment in time, because we're using Federal Transit Administration funds, to start that process until our federal environmental document is complete. So that's the push right now, is to get those environmental documents complete. And then the first question about surface area, Will, do you want to answer that one? How much impermeable space, pavement, how we're dealing with runoff and bioretention basins and all that jazz?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
So Francisco this presentation was mainly focused on the community hub building, and we intentionally aren't focusing on the maintenance facility and the bus yard that makes up the vast majority of the site. As you can imagine, with the bus yard and the considerable employee parking that comes along with this, most of the site is going to be paved. Bus yards are not conducive to permeable paving or anything like that. There's simply the vehicle weight loading is just not really going to work with those type of materials. That is possible in the employee parking areas, certainly. But unfortunately, we really don't have a lot of space for landscaping, given how tight the site is already as it is, with the fleet projections getting MST further into the future and allowing some room for growth. So a lot of the stormwater retention is going to be handled through underground infiltration cisterns. Those are kind of common in the industry. We have yet to do percolation testing on the site, so we don't really know how viable that is, but there will be some sort of underground system that'll be in place to mitigate stormwater. Certainly where we can, we will infiltrate into the landscaping, into any sort of areas that we can make bioretention swales work. But just the amount of soft area on the site is very, very minimal. So we'll have to have a mix of solutions. Also, the site is quite large. We're right about 8 acres in total. So the vast majority of that 8 acres is impermeable surface because of the parking requirements.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah.
Director Delgado.
Thank you, Chair. I'm a little bit behind. I'm happily surprised to see the community hub. I don't know that all operations facilities have those, but I'm glad this does. My question is, what's the purpose of the community hub?
So the purpose of the community hub was at the request of the city of Salinas to have a community center in the LSL area. This LSL marketplace is an area for future development. And so this was something that they saw as something for community groups to gather at, to have functions for this underserved neighborhood. And so it was a part of the negotiation in with the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority and their members on the City Council of Salinas, who have a majority vote on that to effectuate the sale of the property. We want to meet the city of Salinas's needs for a community hub.
Okay.
And use it also as a training facility with Hartnell. We talked earlier, we were talking about an advanced transit technology training center there as well. Board meeting space for community groups or TAMC or MST. It'll just be a way of generating some traffic into that neighborhood as well.
Okay. So the reason I
something to add, or
yeah, the reason I asked is because the design photos we've been seeing have a lot of people around at day and at night,
right.
And I think that's fantastic anywhere. And so the separation from the community hub and the operations and employee patio raises my eyebrow, thinking if I worked there as an employee and I wanted to get away from the office environment during lunch or whatever, I might need the real world to just bring me back to why am I doing this job and what's life all about? And so if the operations and maintenance and if the whole building, center building, was moved closer to, it would be more connected for employees and the public. But I understand that Sun Street looks like it's going right in the middle of the building. So how important is it that Sun Street sort of centers the building, or the building is centered on Sun Street?
Well, Will, maybe you can help me out on this one too. There is a dividing line on the one side with the employee parking in the community center, and where the operations building and maintenance building is, there's a flood zone separation. So having the operations on the one side versus the other side helps to manage that sort of long term. And then, you know, with what MST facilities have to do for federal security rules is we have to have it secure gates and secure, locking and what have you. So the way that, and the site is fairly long. It's not a square site, it's a long site. So we've had to manage through that as well. Maybe Will, you can add on to that.
Yeah, the floodplain concern is a very significant one. It's really difficult to elevate maintenance buildings, in particular in floodplain conditions. So keeping that building to the essentially plan left or to the west is really important to make sure we're out of the floodplain. So the community hub building is in the sort of floodplain zone, but that's a very easy thing to elevate a small building like that for people spaces. It's not a huge difference, from a grading standpoint, but it is a concern. But more importantly, operationally, we need the operations staff in all of the associated spaces for bus drivers, et cetera, to be next to and tied to the maintenance building from a workflow standpoint and an employee kind of consolidation on the site. We did look at lots of options of having the operations component essentially moved over to where the community building is, but that simply wasn't working for MST teams. So we really pulled that back into the maintenance function. As Lisa said, the site is kind of an atypical geometry, so it's not necessarily an ideal layout to have a dead end street kind of right in the middle of the site, but it does work really well to separate traffic so that all of the MST traffic, buses and revenue and non-revenue MST vehicles are coming in off of Sun Street, whereas all the employees and the public would be coming in off of Griffin. So that, to Lisa's point about the security separation, we can completely keep these things separated and keep everybody safe for not mixing offsite traffic.
Okay, great. Glad to hear that you put real thought into all that block design where it really is the big pieces need to be where the big pieces are. So then the last thing I'll mention is the options for the arcade, and I really like the expansion of space under which people can be out of the rain, a little bit more out of the wind, and I really like having a more open, see-through approach because it is a community hub, community building. And if it was to be walled off with plants or screening, it becomes less inviting. It has a less inviting feel. And I think that the whole purpose, what I've heard, is that the community hub is to have an inviting, welcoming feel. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, Director Ferrer.
Well, congratulations on the project. It looks great. On your, here it says the Pueblo, what does that mean?
Francisco, are you still on?
I am, yes.
Yeah, I believe the Pueblo is identified in the city of Salinas's documents. Maybe the Marketplace, the Alisal Vibrancy Plan, or the Vision 2040, whatever that one was. Do you recall where that Pueblo reference?
That is correct. That's a correct reference. Yes.
So can you you say you saw it in one of the reports, the Pueblo?
Yeah, it's a reference to a Salinas planning document that your planning department has identified this area, has called it the Pueblo, so we are incorporating that.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest concerns, because it's a very passionate community, and if they don't feel part of the process, like the decision making, we want to go in, like Francisco calls it, a team. We want to go as a friendly partner. If you'll remember the Police Service Center, which is not too far from there, they offered 3 options, and they invited the entire community to put the little stars, which one would you like, and just had a very good community meeting. And then for just to give you some history background, the Alisal Marketplace, they had 3 meetings with over 90 merchants and store owners. I mean, it was fantastic when this thing was presented to the community. Not too long ago, they just had the grand opening of what's called the Hebron Family Center, which is not too far from this project. And they also provided 3 options to the community where they can pick which one they would like. I think because of history and the Alisal marketplace, I think I would like to promote. If Pueblo comes in it, it doesn't, I'm sure it was there, but this thing for many years is the Alisal marketplace, and I think that everybody, all the different organizations that you mentioned here, they recognize it as such. I think, Mr. Sador, and my biggest concern is once we start going out there, I think we need to do a good community meeting, invite the public. I know Lisa Brinton and her staff, they're very good at putting these things together as a team. Where the people get a feeling like, hey, you guys are already doing it, what are you asking for our input versus, hey, we're inviting you, we got this project coming up, we'd like you to be part of it. I think that, to me, that would be the most critical piece, is where the community has a buy-in. Because this is fantastic, it really is, it's supported, but I am concerned making sure that happens. And also, one of the things to keep in mind, whenever MST chooses to have a 6 p.m. community meeting, it's gotta be up there in the evening. Making sure that there's no commissions or committee meetings at the city level, because that way everybody's able to participate. And again, congratulations, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrera. With that, are there any other directors' comments? And if not, we'll go ahead and move on to public comment. So at this time, public comment is open, and if you would like to make your comment on this item, and you have 3 minutes for your comments. For comments open.
I do not see anyone in the room, and I do not see any hands raised virtually.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and close public comment. I'll bring it back. Directors, is a staff recommendation to receive the presentation on planning and design.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Do we do at this time roll call vote?
Oh, just received, sorry.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
just received.
You've
already received.
Okay. I'm taking advice from legal. Okay. So,
Uh-oh. You're just receiving the design photos.
thank you.
And Madam Chair, just a quick comment, because
Yes, sir.
I do like to brag on good things. Am I able to share with the city council tomorrow at our meeting that it's MST property, or do I keep my mouth shut?
I don't see why not. I mean, we've talked about it today publicly. In fact, I want to talk to you afterwards about some little ceremonial type of thing.
Yeah, handing over the keys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Francisco, for your presentation. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item. These items are informational, they're reports, and we'll go to the CEO 7-1 General
Yeah.
Manager.
Thank you. Just a few things I want to highlight that's part of this month's monthly report. You may have seen some news on this. In the 12 months prior to March 2026, we were averaging 3% monthly growth compared to the previous year. When the war in Iran started around February 28th, we saw over the course of March 1 to March 31 about a 30% jump in fuel prices that's continued on since then. During that period, instead of a 3% growth in ridership, we saw a 12.7% growth in ridership. So we're thinking, all things being equal, we've not expanded the hours of our service, we're not adding more service. The only thing's changed is the price of fuel. So we're thinking that's our passengers have hit a tipping point on that. New passengers, new members of the community. We've seen up to a 20% growth in ridership on our long distance regional routes between King City and Salinas, Salinas and Watsonville, Salinas and Gilroy. So the longer the distance route, the more people are traveling. That is, especially in the South County Line 23, creating some overcrowding issues, which is why we're looking at double-decker buses and trying to find funding for that, because we are having issues south of Salinas where we have open access to the road. Farm vehicles or workers just cutting out in front of a full bus with standing load. We try not to have that standing load, and it's creating issues for us from a safety perspective. In March, I mentioned, we hosted over 100 public transit leaders from the US and Canada, came to Monterey, including the CEO of the New York MTA, Vancouver, Canada's CEO, Seattle, LA, Chicago, Shreveport, Louisiana, Moline, Indiana, large and small, came here and got to see took a tour of the SURF, busway and BRT, our contactless payment systems, our zero emission buses. They were all very impressed. Mostly impressed with the weather that we had that weekend because it was about 80 degrees. I told them it was like that every day here, so come on back. We also have attached to this report the quarterly updates that we promised your board regarding the circulator service in South County, and comparing the quarter January 26 through March 26, we saw ridership double in those communities. We're seeing that impact also on the line 23. We're seeing an increase in wheelchair ridership that's being generated from people taking those circulator buses in South County, connecting to medical appointments in other cities, or up into Salinas and down to Fin City. Finally, in attachment 2, starting on page 77, you have our update to where we stand with the fiscal year ending June 2026 action plan. The March 31 update is attached. The remainder of the report are reports that are just for your reporting only. So that's includes my report from the general manager.
Okay, thank you, Scarlett. Okay, we do have other reports. Do we want to go?
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
SURF was in there somewhere.
Sure.
Just a quick question on SURF. Is it on budget? Is there a $15 million contingency? And has that been dipped into, or is it expected to be dipped into yet?
We are required through our project, through the federal government, to maintain a contingency level, which we are having. To date, we've not are not planning to go into contingency, although we are looking at some recent increases in the price of paving due to recent oil increases. But we're not concerned at this point about being over budget. We are on time. Actually, we're maybe slightly ahead of schedule at this point, and we're on budget. And we're working with the vendor right now for them to, they gave us a heads up saying, hey, we maybe paying a little bit more than we were planning on for paving because of oil prices. And so we go into a negotiation over that.
All right. So if it stays kind of like that flat as far as on budget, at the end, might it be a 90 million price tag instead of 105 million price tag?
Absolutely. Yeah. The construction itself, the construction of the project is 59 million. So the rest of this, the rest of the 100 million that's been budgeted is, for initial planning, environmental. We've gone through 4 different environmental reviews. We've got significant mitigations from the Coastal Commission and from various jurisdictions, environmental, including state parks and the rest. So,
and a 15 million contingency.
Right. So we are well capitalized on this project. I'm not concerned that we're going to have any shortfalls of any kind.
Thank you, Carl.
Good.
Any other directors before we move on?
Just briefly, I wanted to thank MST for supporting Earth Day. I know Sustainable Seaside was grateful, as well as our leadership team. Thank you.
I have one announcement that I'm not supposed to make, but I'm going to make it. Next week, I will be attending a conference I wasn't planning on attending, but I'm going on short notice in Salt Lake City. Because we're asked not to do a press release, so this is not a press release, is it? So I will make the announcement because MST was selected as the Gold Award for Safety as one of the safest transit operators in the country by the American Public Transportation Association. So their staff, Kelly Malcolm and his staff, and Norm and his team who carry out the programs, both in operations and maintenance, will be on hand. Some of us will get up on stage and accept the award on behalf of your board, and we're not allowed to make a formal announcement until that day of the award. which will get press release out there, but just to let you know, it's never too soon to share a little bit of good news, I think.
Fantastic. Moving on, we do have other reports. Is Don available?
You have your written reports, a formal presentation was provided to the admin committee at their meeting from both Shaw Yoder and Twee for the state legislative update and federal update. Reports that what was discussed are in your board packet.
Okay. And with that, we'll move on to board member reports, comments and referrals. 8-1 meetings attended at MST expense by board members. There's one in there. I did have a handout. Jeanette has that in a little bit of information that she could pass out.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, along with that, speaking of awards, page 99, there is an award winning trip report from Councilmember Tony Barrera.
Oh.
It's good reading. It's fascinating. It's a legislative conference, so thank you for that award winning report, Mr. Barrera. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I did on my report that Jeanette has, I did put a few notes on there, additional notes that I was surprised at the same conference that me and Director Barrera attended, that they under talks such as safety, security. I did not know that human trafficking was nearly 70% of victims are being trafficked via public transportation. So I put in some additional little notes in here and for your pleasure at a later time. So
Co-award winning.
and with that, I will ask if there are any further board member comments or announcements at this time. Anything? Not seeing any. We heard possible key handover tomorrow in the city of Salinas. Great news. We'll move to board member referrals for future agendas. Anyone? Please no. Okay. Attachments are the monthly report and they can be viewed online. Item 10 is closed session. There is not any. So at the item 11, we will adjourn. And the ad hoc nominating committee will meet directly after convene. Dave Pacheco, Kim Shirley, and Ed Smith, if he's I don't know if his alternate.
No, he's attending teleconference.
Okay. Okay, so with that, the next MST directors meeting is going to be June 8th, 2026. And then meeting is
22 years ago, Mayor Delgado attended his first MST meeting. And, glad to see him still here and sorry that he won't be attending very many more.